We are here at the cabin. This is just to cook 845, and we're peeling apples for the first recipe of the day, which is a red hot cinnamon apple. An old nostalgic recipe that I bet other people's grandmothers have made. My grandmother never made, but we're going to pretend she did today. Peeled, sliced, put into a bath of water with lemon juice to keep them from browning. And then we're going to create a delicious syrup, and they are going to be canned in a water bath canner. These are some apples that we've picked earlier in the week at a local farm. Beautiful variety of apples, great color, great sweetness. This is a nice apple on a beautiful fall Hudson Valley day. I like cinnamon and I like spice, so this is going to be a hot cinnamon apple. We're going to make about 6 pints. We're going to create a sweet and spicy syrup. That syrup's going to have sugar, red hot candies, cinnamon stick, whole cloves, ground ginger, water, apple cider vinegar, light corn syrup, and some red food coloring. So now that we've cleaned the apples, we're going to begin making the syrup. It's very simple. We're going to put the water and the vinegar. There's the apple cider vinegar. Here's the water. We'll list the recipe later, so you don't have to worry about remembering all this. Here's the sugar. Here goes our spices. Here's the cinnamon sticks, and cinnamon candies rather. We're going to do about 2 tablespoons of food coloring. 1, 2, that's probably good enough. And the last ingredient will be the light corn syrup. And we're going to slowly bring this syrup to a boil. And once we do, we are going to add the apples. We're going to simmer the apples for 4 minutes. And then we're going to put them in mason jars. We're going to do pint-sized jars. And those are in the canning pot sterilizing. So this syrup has a great color to it. The candies are going to dissolve and infuse their cinnamon flavor. The spices are going to hydrate and release their flavor. And this should yield us 6 pints. 6 pint jars of sterilized glass canning jars, new lids, clean new rings. Always use new lids. These are from Ball. We're not sponsored by Ball, but that's the brand I always use. And we're going to bring this to a slow boil. Keep stirring it, get it all dissolved. We'll drain the apples out shortly and mix them in too. So these are the mason jars. They're sterilizing in the very hot water. And we'll take them out in a minute and we'll drain them and get them ready for the next step. We're taking them out and we're draining them. They're very hot, so we don't want to break them or drop them. I love apples. I love the seasons. I love cinnamon. So this will be a wonderful combination of fall in a jar. This will make a great gift throughout the holiday season, or we'll enjoy them as a little snack when we have friends or family over, or friends who are family. If you look over here, you'll see that the syrup is starting to boil. The cinnamon sticks are starting to open a bit. And what we're going to do is we're going to add the apples to this mixture in just 2 minutes. It's got great color. And if you can smell that at home, you'll smell that cinnamon and the apple cider vinegar. Can you smell that out in the audience? The cinnamon, the clove. All right, so now we're going to take the apples, which have been drained. They're going to go in to the broth, or into the syrup, I should say. They're immediately going to take on some of that red color. And this is going to go for 4 minutes. We're going to let these simmer for 4 minutes. We're just getting the temperature up. They've immediately taken on some of that red from the cinnamon candies and from the red food coloring. This is a fun old recipe. So we're going to start by filling the jars with the hot apples. We're going to fill them to that line, which is a 1/2 inch to the top. We have to allow room for expansion. So there's going to be a mixture of cinnamon stick in some of these, and clove. The candies have all dissolved. And we'll give these a little tap as we move along. Yeah, after we get these jars filled and the apples settled, we'll go back and we will ladle in the liquid. But for now, we want to get as much apple in as we can without overcrowding them. But these are going to exude water, so they are going to shrink a bit. And we want to make sure we have enough apples in there. Because otherwise you'll end up with half-filled jars, and we don't want that. And I do like to improvise sometimes as I'm going along. And one of my improvisations, I think now, is going to add a couple more cinnamon sticks to these. So every jar will have a small piece of cinnamon in it. It's not what the original recipe said to do, but as someone who likes cinnamon, I think it will work appropriately. So that's it for the apples. And now we're going to take a little tool to help push these apples into place. There's actually a little bit of room for more apple, and I think what I will do is peel another apple and just use that one more apple to fill in the voids on these, because we could put a couple more slices, it looks like, in each of these jars. And here we are in the Hudson Valley in the middle of apple season. There are so many local orchards in our nearby counties of Dutchess, Columbia, Ulster, and beyond, where you can pick as many apples as you could possibly want and create as many wonderful apple-based dishes, both sweet and savory, although I don't particularly like savory apple dishes, but that's my personal taste. I think of apples and cinnamon as a sweet option, not savory. But you should get out and enjoy the weather and go pick apples wherever you might live. Come visit the Hudson Valley. Send us a note. We'll give you recommendations. These skins you could make jelly with, but I am going to give them to the chickens today. And they will enjoy the skins. We will not give them seeds because there is some toxicity in apple seeds. Hi. We'll go through and begin ladling in the syrup. And we're going to go to a 1/2 inch below the top, in which we will show you in a moment what that looks like. We will also have to clean these jars very well before we put the lids on to ensure that we get a very good seal. It has a vibrant red hue. It looks really great. Okay, So now I'm going to go through and tamp these again. This one may have a little too much in. But what we'll do is take one out of here, and we'll go over here with it. Maybe not. Take a couple out for now. We don't want to overcrowd them. That looks good. That looks good. Tamp that down, and we're trying to maintain a 1/2 inch. That's our 1/2 inch, that's 1/4 inch. Years ago we had a small hen flock, which we affectionately referred to as the Kardashian hens. And then we had made some changes. I had undergone surgery and did not know what recovery time would be like, so we rehomed them and found a new home for these girls to go to and sold the coop. Well, recently, back in April, we acquired a new coop and a small flock, and we've had some issues with attempted predation with raccoons. Not so much trying to get the chickens, but the chickens' food. So recently, I think a week ago yesterday, I had gotten up at 7 to release them out of their hen house and into their run, as I do every morning. And preparing to start my day, went and took a shower. As I'm getting out of the shower, my other half, Erin, yells, "Erik, there's a raccoon in the coop." Well, an hour before, I was outside with the chickens, brought them a lovely dish of leftover orecchiette with sausage and broccoli rabe, which they loved. And indeed, there was a raccoon out there. Well, I'm in a bath towel. It's 40 degrees out. I go outside to deal with this, not sure how. And there's this little chubby trash panda in the coop, wanting to get out, but not knowing how. So Erin came outside. I'm outside. She closes the door behind her. She suggests opening the one door to the chicken coop. I said, okay, we'll do that. We opened it up. We made noise on the right, and the little guy exited on the left. No harm came to our fowl, and off he went. And it was sort of kind of cloudy and dark out. Well, anyway, we realize now we have a chicken coop with a raccoon, and we've locked ourselves out of the house. I'm barefoot and in a towel and have to be at an appointment in 30 minutes, 35 minutes from now, from here. So this is our second incident with raccoons trying to get to their food. There hasn't been any attacks on the chickens, which we're very fortunate for. But if anyone saw this or there was any spectators, they'd find it probably very entertaining. So Erin had to climb through a window to get back in the house to unlock the door. So no one said having chickens was easy. And here we are today. So they will get some apple trimmings in just a little while, and life will continue to move forward for them here at the cabin. So now we are going to put the lids into some hot water just to warm them up and to sterilize them too. This is boiling. We'll take some water. Here's our lids and rings, which have already been washed with soap and water, but that hot water will soften them up a bit. We're going to come back and look at these and see that we need to add some more liquid. And they are still a bit sticky, so we're going to have to wash them off a little bit more. We're going to add some more liquid. This is settled, but we can see that we're now below that 1/2 inch mark. So we're going to wipe this with a clean wet rag just to get any of that stickiness off, because we have to assure ourselves that we're getting a good seal on top, and the sugar could impede that. So we're getting that liquid off. And now we're going to put maybe a tablespoon or so of the syrup just to bring those levels up a little bit more. And this recipe did say 6 jars, 6 pints, And it did indeed provide us with 6 pints. So we're going to go back to the syrup. We'll take a spoonful of the syrup and just ladle a little bit more in on top. Like that. A little bit more. Not too much, because we don't want it to spill out during the cooking process. But you can see that great color. I really like this color. I suppose you could have omitted the food coloring, should you want, but I did want that red hot cinnamon color to come through. So I am not against using proper food coloring at times. And then we will pop these in to the canner, 15 minutes at a gentle boil. And here's how we do this part. These lids have been cleaned, the rings and the rims have been wiped down. This is going to go on like that, finger tight. Open that up, and we will put these into the jar, into the canner. So one by one, we'll go through and set these up. There's 2 types of canning, basically. Water bath canning, which this is, and pressure canning, which we would use like a device similar to an old-fashioned pressure cooker. Water bath canning is safe for highly acidic foods, things that have pectin in it, like a jam or jelly. But being that this is a fruit with sugar and mostly vinegar, we have a high acid level, and that will prevent bacteria. We're going to bring this to a boil. We're going to process it at the recommended 15 minutes for 1,000 feet above sea level or under, and we are at about 500 feet above sea level here. I bet you could take and mix vodka with this, or something like moonshine, and it would taste pretty darn good. So now what we'll do is we'll lower this into the water. This canner would have held 7 pints, but we made 6 as the recipe said it would. And we're going to straighten these back up once we get them into the water. Okay, so now that they're in, sometimes what I'll do is I'll take a tea towel and put it in to help hold them, but we're going to use the brackets of the handles, and that'll help stabilize the jars. We're going to bring that to a higher heat and get this back to a boil. When you're using a water bath canner, it's important to have 1 to 2 inches of water above the top of the jars, which we do have here. All right. Get that in there like that. So once we get to our boiling point, we'll set the timer and we'll come back. "15 minutes has passed. The jars are ready to come out of the water bath canner. None of the jars seem to have exploded, which is always a possibility. What we'll do is carefully take these out. Just tip the little bit of water off and set these over here. They're going to sit in one spot for 24 hours. We're not going to touch them. We're not going to do anything to them. They have great color. They look very nice. Very Christmassy. They match my plaid. We should hear a little pop, which is the seal, but sometimes that happens underwater and you don't always hear it. But we know they're sealed at that point. In 24 hours, we'll remove the rings. A lot of people don't do that. I do, and it's recommended to, because then this way you know you actually have a proper seal. And we'll put these out of the way. We have 6 pints, as we first talked about, of hot cinnamon apples with clove and ginger, cinnamon stick, and red hot candies. And now the chickens will be the benefactors of, or beneficiaries of, the scraps. We're going to give them the apple scraps. So thanks for stopping by. We'll see you again. Ciao.